Happy Monday, everybody. It's Cam from the Cancellations Houses team coming to you with another episode of our Monday Market Update. This is our first Monday Market Update of April, aka quarter two. So we're going to do a flashback and look at the quarter that was, especially with what was going on in March. It's going to be big. So let's just dive in real quick. I'm going to hit the weekly numbers first because they're kind of the least exciting. This past week, we had 253 new listings, 203 sold listings, and 6 conditionally sold listings. So following the trend of we've had plenty of new listings come to market over the past few weeks, if you've been following the Monday Market Update, that's a trend that we picked up on probably 4 weeks ago, okay? New listings outpacing sold listings. And that was a massive trend for the month of March. So let's get right into it. The number one thing that we need to look at for the month of March was the number of new listings. The sheer volume was massive. 1,144 new listings for March in London alone. Now that figure represents the second highest single month total over the past 5 years in any month. The only month that was higher than that was May of 2017. That should tell you just how many listings we had coming to market in the month of March. Contrarily, we only had 740 sold listings for last month, which was above the 5-year average for the month of March, but well behind what we saw in March of 2021. There was almost 1,000 sold listings in the month of March last year and less than 750 this year. So an important comparison to see there is we got a lot of listings selling, a crazy number actually, and the number of sales actually came down. And one stat that I like to look at is called the sales to new listings ratio. So for every 100 new listings that come to market, how many sold, okay? And last month we were sitting at just under 65%. So 65 of every 100 listings that came to market sold. And that represents the lowest figure that we've seen since COVID first began in April of 2020, all right? That ratio really represents, if we're in a seller's market versus buyer's market. And we've been firmly in a seller's market, which is considered 60% and above for the past 10-ish years, okay? So is that number really accurate? It's hard to say, that the ratio, but there have only been, over the past 5 years, 5 months total where the sales to new listings ratio was under 65%, last month being one of them, all right? So that can tell you we had a crazy number of new listings, not nearly as many sold listings, which led to one of the slowest months as far as sales compared to what we had going on with the listing side, okay? So SNLR was super down, all right? It did lead to a price clawback, okay, of about 2.2% from February. In March, the average sale price was just over $805,000, which was, like I said, about 2% less than it was in February when it was about $823K, all right? So that's probably, music to a lot of buyers' ears right now. If you are a seller, it's important to understand that the value of your house hasn't necessarily declined by 2%, okay? It's just going to require a different type of strategy to get you that sale price than it did in the months of January, February, and early on in March, all right? Something that we're seeing a lot of right now is cancellations. And if you've been paying attention to the Facebook page for the last few weeks, you will have noticed that I talked about this a few weeks ago. Cancellations have been crazy high. Not something that we often talk about because everything sells, right? Not last month. 179 canceled listings in London alone. A lot of those, over 50% of them, were from what we call failed offer nights. So if you have a listing that comes to market and, a pretty typical listing strategy has been we come to market and then we're going to look at offers 6 to 7 days later, okay? As the listing goes through, you get to offer night, and if a seller gets either no offers or offers that they don't find acceptable or aren't really enticing to them, then they're left with a few options, one of which is to just cancel the listing, okay? And we were seeing that a lot, right? So we had 1,100 listings come to market, and only 740 of them sold, so we have either a lot left over or a lot that just didn't sell and are no longer sitting on the market, right? Those cancellations are increasing, okay? If we look back to last year, something similar happened as we went through the year. Cancellations were on the rise, and they actually peaked in June at 181 canceled listings for the entire month of June. That was the high for last year, all right? And if you remember last year, the average sale price peaked in April, but as cancellations started to rise, that number slowly started to fall, okay, as we got into August. August was the low point of that kind of slide last year. I'm expecting that we're going to see something similar happen for the next few months in London as cancellations either rise or stay high, which is likely what's going to happen. We're going to continue to see that number kind of slide or stay close to, all right? The reason I think that cancellations will remain high is sellers are usually the slowest on the uptake when we see a shift in market conditions, okay? The fact of the matter is, if you're going to be listing a house in April or May, you are doing that based on what houses have sold around you earlier this year. And if you go to market and you haven't already bought a house or you're just testing the market, you're probably not going to sell if you don't get a similar number. And like I said, those offer nights are going to continue to fail as we get a lot of inventory on the market. So we're going to have a lot of disappointed sellers that put their house on the market, try to generate multiple offers, and then have one of those failed offer nights. So cancellations, as we kind of ride out this shift in the market, are going to remain high. Okay, so my prediction, I'll rewind back to the start of the year when I made a prediction for quarter one. I said we would hit an average sale price of $750 by the end of March, and that got blown out of the water because in January, we hit $770 as an average sale price, which was nutty. So completely unforeseen. I'm going to make another prediction for the end of quarter two. I'm going to say that we are not going to see an average sale price in London, okay, April, May, June, that was higher than we had in February, okay? That's my prediction for quarter two. So if you are a seller, understand that things are shifting and they are going to remain, they're going to continue to shift in a buyer's favor, honestly, for the next few months. And if you are a buyer, understand that that means there will be opportunities out there. Again, unless a seller has to sell, they're not going to sell their house at a crazy discount. It's just not going to happen. So just keep your eye out as we see less offer nights happening, more listings come to market, looking at offers anytime. If I was a buyer, those are the type of properties that I would be jumping all over for the next few months, okay? Thank you so much for tuning in to our massive quarter one review Monday market update. If you have questions or comments about where you think the market's going to go for the next 3 months, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to chat, hear what your opinions are for the market over the next few months. And if you are looking to get into the market or sell or invest, you know what to do. Reach out to your number one favorite real estate team here in London, Santa Sells Houses team. We got you. Happy Monday, everybody. See you next week.